On that note, there's one more person that I'm going to introduce, but I'm going to introduce him at the very end. I was asked by the Master of Ceremony to introduce also my team, which I will gladly do. I think we should all be here. So I'll start with the ladies first. There is Judith, the head of internal audit and forensics. Judith, good morning. Thank you. We have Juliet. Juliet is the head of wholesale. I saw her this morning. Yes, Julie, good morning. We have Init Edroma. Init, the company secretary, head of legal. Okay. And Dokas. Dokas, any complaint about customer service? Dokas is the one who's going to solve your problems. Good morning, Dokas. On the male side of the executive team, we have Sam Jita. Sam is the head of risk and compliance. Sam, good morning. Yes. Joseph, the head of sales and distribution, is also with us. Thank you, Joseph. We have Ibrahim. Ibrahim is the head of enterprise unit. Nicolas. Nicolas is heading the capital. Not the capital markets, but the capital program, investment program with MTN. Nicolas, good morning. We have Somdev, Sen Somdev. Yes, Som is there at the back. He's the main organizer for today. We also have Ali Monzer, who is the Chief Technical and Information Officer. Good morning, Monzer. Any problems with the network? He's the one to talk to. We also have, of course, Andrew Bugembe, Chief Financial Officer. Good morning, Andrew. I wasn't prepared, so I always stand the risk of forgetting somebody on my list which is not there. Did I forget anybody? Oh, yes, the people man. Sorry. Michael Sekade. Good morning, Michael. Sorry. Thank you for being with us this morning. Okay. On that note, I don't know what you did or were doing on the 22nd of October 1998. I know what I did. I was just arriving in Zimbabwe for my first job in telecoms on the 22nd of October, and I also know what MTN Uganda did on the 22nd of October 1998. We made our first call. We made our first call on the network. So that is almost 23 years ago today, and we are going to take a short moment to look at the history of MTN Uganda. So if at the back we are ready, we can show the video. Okay, thank you for that. I've also not yet introduced Stephen Mutana. That is to be compliant with the new regulation of Bank of Uganda. I can't announce him as part of our management team because he's on his own. He's the acting CEO of the FinTech, the mobile money company. So Stephen, thank you also for joining us today. So, on that note, last but not least, it's my great honor to introduce to you and to ask to come on stage to make his remarks on this very important, unique day in the history of MTN Uganda. I would like to invite the chairperson of the board of the directors of MTN Uganda, Mr. Charles Mbire, to come on stage and make his remarks. He is going to make the announcement. Mr. Chairman, please.
Excuse me. I would be compliant. Thank you very much, Wim. Thank you. Honorable Minister of State for National Guidance in the Ministry of ICT, Mr. Godfrey Kabyanga, Her Excellency, Madam High Commissioner of the Republic of South Africa to Uganda, our regulators of the telecommunications business and mobile banking business, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Uganda, the URA Commissioner General, the Executive Director, Uganda Communications Commission, those are our regulators who have supported us directly to make this day happen. The Chief Executive Officer, Capital Markets Authority, the Uganda Securities Exchange, government representatives, eminent guests, ladies and gentlemen, in your various cities, all protocol observed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to join you today for this landmark moment in the history of MTN Uganda. On October 22nd, 1998, the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, made his first call on the MTN network from State House Nakasero, reaching out to the then South African President, the late Nelson Mandela. That call marked the start of what has been a remarkable and successful partnership between MTN and the warm-hearted and welcoming people of this great country that we call home, launching what has been a virtual social economic revolution in Uganda. This followed the award of the second National Operators License, SNO, to MTN for 20 years after an international bidding process. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, about 23 years later, Uganda's mobile service penetration has grown phenomenally from a low of 0.27% to 70% as of March 31st, 2021. With MTN playing a big role as a market leader. Out of every 10 Ugandans, at least 7 have access to mobile telephone services today. In 2009, we pioneered MTN Mobile Money, which has become a resounding success story and which has revolutionized the financial landscape in Uganda. Formal financial inclusion has been doubled from 28% in 2009, when mobile money was introduced in Uganda, to 58% as of 2018. 2018. Today, MTN has made mobile money universal through a widespread network of approximately 145,000 mobile money agents, 200 service stores, 14 main distributors, moving approximately 180 billion shillings per day within its ecosystem. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, from the outset, MTN Uganda was deliberate about being a good corporate citizen of Uganda and sustainability. We are compliant, and I'll say it again, we are very compliant to the laws of the land and have invested materially in the Ugandan society, among whom we conduct our business. We have topped the leading taxpayers list for the last 10 years. Today, we're a fully integrated telecoms operator, delivering the benefits of a modern connected life and positively changing the lives of our growing customer base by improving digital access, driving financial inclusion, and overall community development at one with our mantra, we are good together. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, as MTN continues in this fruitful partnership with the people of Uganda into the third decade, we are emboldened, and our commitment is renewed by the award last year in June by the government of Uganda of a renewed national telecom operator license. Through you, Honorable Minister, we wish to thank the government of Uganda for providing a conducive regulatory and business environment. The new license requires us to list at least 20% of our shareholding on the Uganda Securities Exchange. MTN has always looked forward to an opportunity to share its success with the people of Uganda through direct ownership of this iconic business in alignment with our localization agenda. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor I announce MTN's intention to float 20% of its issued shares through an initial public offer IPO of existing ordinary shares, a process which has already been approved by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda. By listing MTN Uganda on the Uganda Securities Exchange, we look forward to deepening the bond between the MTN brand and the people of Uganda, which underpins our commitment as a co-owner and partner in the growth of MTN Uganda and the entire economy of this great country that we are privileged to call home. My greatest joy will be to welcome Ugandan investors as shareholders of MTN Uganda through our IPO, details of which will be made known to the public in due course. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
A big hand clap for Mr. Charles Mburu, Chairman of MTN Uganda. Thank you very much, sir. The cat is now out of the bag. I heard somebody look around and saying, you mean there's a cat inside here? Uganda is full of surprises. You never know. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to keep talking about Uganda this whole morning because Uganda is home. MTN is home at Uganda. And there's one gem that our dear chairman dropped. MTN has been consistently the top taxpayer for the last 10 years. A big hand clap to MTN for that. Great job, guys. Do you know how hard it is to make somebody smile when they've got a mask on? The Commissioner General of URA smiled when he said that. Now, let's not forget, we need to also stay safe. Let's maintain all the COVID-19 SOPs. It is here with us. Maintain social distance. If you've not been vaccinated, today will be a good day to do it. After here, of course. We don't want you running out. But let's talk about ambition. Where are we going? I mean, this must be going somewhere. Now, I'm going to call upon the Vice President of MTN, who's in charge of Southern and Eastern Africa, Miss Yolanda Cuba, to kindly come up and give us some words of comfort. But before she comes, I just want to, we're talking about ambition, going places. I don't know how many of you are aware that Yolanda Cuba was at one point the youngest CEO of a company listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Yolanda,
Thank you so much, Peter. Okay, got that right? I'm a little bit shorter. Firstly, thank you for having me here. Today is a joyful occasion. As we started off today, we said something profound. And there's something profound that we said. We said Uganda, Waka, Wange. Did I get that right? Uganda is indeed home. Honorable Minister of State for National Guidance, Mr. Godfrey Kabiyanga, Her Excellency, Madam High Commissioner of the Republic of South Africa to Uganda, Mama Lulu Tungwana, Chairperson of the MTN Uganda Board, who has just given us those amazing, amazing statistics about what MTN has been doing, and he's been the chairman since the beginning. So we acknowledge you, Chairman, and the work that you have done. Our regulators of the telecommunications business and the mobile banking business, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Uganda, the Executive Director of the Uganda Commission, or Communications Commission, Commissioner General, who is sitting next to me, of the URA, our regulators that have supported us directly and indirectly to make this happen today, the Chief Executive Officer of the Capital Markets Authority, the Ugandan Stock Exchange, government representatives, eminent guests, ladies and gentlemen, in your various capacities, all protocol observed. Again, good morning, and thank you for choosing to accept this invitation to attend this very important announcement that will set off a series of activities and events within MTN Uganda. I am certain all of you are as excited as I am today. Uganda is an important market for MTN Group. We have a proud history of partnering with Uganda and Ugandans to actually make sure that we foster and ensure faster and inclusive growth through digital transformation with this particular country we call home. We believe firmly that our success as a group rests on a healthy and meaningful relationship with this country and also its people. One of the things that wasn't mentioned earlier is that Uganda is one of the very first markets that MTN Group actually ventured into outside of South Africa. So that's why Uganda has such a special place in our hearts. Today, we seek not only to be merely participants in the economy of this country, but rather as a trusted and a valued partner. And as our chairman actually said, and has articulated, and the video itself, and Wim actually mentioned it, is that the people of Uganda have embraced MTN as their own and given us legitimacy to continue to operate in the various communities that we serve. We are always cognizant that we actually receive or get our license to operate from each and every one of the communities and the customers that we serve. That privilege we never take for granted. It is therefore most rewarding to be able to give a broad base of Ugandans the opportunity to share meaningfully in the success of MTN in this country. And the people of Uganda have built together with us over the last 23 years this amazing company. MTN Uganda will become the 4th operating market to be publicly listed in our group as MTN. That is out of 21 markets in which today we currently operate. This milestone reaffirms MTN's own work to promote local ownership and participation in the businesses that we run across markets and to create what we call shared value. This will be an IPO in the Ugandan market and the first of its kind in East Africa, and will be delivered primarily through digital or a paperless or green platform. And that we'll talk about a little bit later as well. And what makes me really proud about what we're going to be achieving as part of this journey is that we want every individual, every customer to be part and parcel of what we are going to be doing, which is we want them to own a piece of this company. In response to MTN Group strategy, which we call Ambition 2025, of leading digital solutions for Africa, MTN is committed to supporting and also the realization of the National Development Plan of the government for its own people in this country. And this in Uganda has been particularized in the ICT sector in the National Broadband Policy of 2018. And in this regard, I want to assure you, I saw someone from the investment who heads up the investment corporation. We want to assure you that MTN over the next 3 years in this country would invest over 1 trillion in terms of the capital that we will be deploying in this country. That will be in order to ensure that we extend coverage across this country and we ensure that each and every Ugandan actually has access to data and voice services. This will also enable the attainment of world-class connectivity at affordable prices. Our Ambition 2025 is to reach over 90% of the population, of this population, with voice and data services. This is how we actualize our very own saying and our own belief that says everyone not only deserves but also is entitled to the benefits of a modern connected life. The ICT sector in which MTN operates has been a true catalyst for economic transformation for many nations in Africa, not least Uganda. To this end, MTN will continue to develop and enhance the provision of diverse services across all the profit centers that we run, which is voice, data, digital services, fintech services, wholesale services, enterprise services to its more than 277 million customers across 21 countries. Our fintech platform has had great socio-economic benefits for many across Africa. Today, we sit at just over 50 million customers on our mobile money platform. And this is evidence of the African solutions that are developed by Africans for African problems. It is a resounding success story which has revolutionized the financial landscape in Africa and is the main driver of financial inclusion in Africa. So Stephen and the team in the FinTech team, thank you very much for the work that you do. MTN remains committed to building the largest and most valuable platforms in Africa, driving industry-leading connectivity across our operations, creating shared value, and accelerating our portfolio transformation through creating meaningful partnerships and leveraging its brand for the good of everyone, everywhere we go. Here in Uganda, this is our home, and we are proud of the fact that today we are able to say each and every Ugandan can participate in the ownership of MTN Uganda. For me, from an MTN group perspective, I want to assure you again that Uganda no muka. Did I get that right? So I'm on the road today. So thank you very much for welcoming us here today, and indeed for welcoming us as MTN Group 23 years ago. We have another 23 years to build again, but this time it will not just be MTN and its own shareholders in South Africa, but it will be MTN with the people of Uganda. Thank you very much.
A big hand clap for Yolanda Cuba. Now, we are talking about investment, we are talking about ambition, we are talking about going places. There is an opportunity for us to invest and to own, to take the country forward. The good news is we can start talking about this now because we have free Wi-Fi courtesy of MTN. I've tried it out. It is super. The connection, even for streaming, is unbelievable. A big hand up to the technical side of MTN. Also, our hashtag is trending on Twitter, and it is MTN. We are MTN Good Together, and hashtag UG is home. So let's get pictures, post our comments. Let's talk about this. This is a very, very big thing. And how ambitious and big it is. Let me show you what ambition looks like. And now that the cat is out of the bag, and we need to know what that means to us as shareholders who would be interested in investing. Now, no better person can tell us that other than the CEO of Uganda Securities Exchange, Mr. Paul Buiso. Paul, you're welcome.
Pirate Bits Production. Sikiriza nkusemberere, sikirizewa okutunulira.
Her Excellency, the South African High Commissioner, the Minister of State for National Guidance and the Minister of ICT, Honorable Godfrey Kabianga, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, the Executive Director, Uganda Communications Commission, the Commissioner General, Uganda Revenue Authority, My regulator, Keith, CEO of Capital Markets Authority, all protocol observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. I've got a few remarks to make. The Uganda Securities Exchange is proud to be part of the 10th IPO over the past 23 years of its existence. This IPO comes about 4 years following CIPLA Quality Chemicals IPO, which raised about $46 million, an equivalent of about $168 billion. Before this, we had the Umeme IPO, which raised about $66 million. A total of USD $623 million has been raised, an equivalent of 2.2 trillion Uganda shillings on the Uganda Securities Exchange platform since its inception in 1998. 62% of this amount has been raised through initial public offers, with the remaining 38% raised through secondary market offers and issuance of of treasury bonds. Corporate bonds. Currently, the size of the market, measured by market capitalization, is 20.7 trillion, about $5.8 billion, with local companies accounting for 3.9 trillion, equivalent of $1.1 billion as at the end of trading yesterday. IPOs present an opportunity for growth at the exchange by raising the number of investors on the market. Currently, we have 40,000 investors. And with the initiative, we partnered with MTN Momo. In the space of 2 weeks, we've been able to open 2,000 accounts as compared to the 38,000 we had previously, which shows the impact of technology in financial inclusion and diversifying the outreach. The exchange provides an opportunity for companies to grow and create greater impact, to communicate with the share of their success with investors. When MTN Uganda eventually lists on the market, it will provide investors with a new sector, that is the telecom sector, which is a fast-growing technology sector within Uganda. MTN Uganda is one of the dominant telecom companies in Uganda with about 15 million subscribers. And this IPO provides an opportunity for these Ugandans to own a portion of this company. This IPO launch comes during this year's World Investor Week, which started on 4th, yesterday, of October and ends on 10th of October. And this World Investor Week is being celebrated under the theme Sustainable Finance, with focus on how to leverage technology to achieve this. Over the past 3 years, the exchange has continued to invest heavily in technology in a bid to increase access to the market to all stakeholders and strengthen its capabilities with effectively delivering sizable financing to companies through its platform. In 2017, the exchange put in place an IPO modular system under the USE Easy Portal functionality, and this was used during the CIPLA IPO and was utilized by the brokers to be able to post all applications through to the trading system and the depository. So, further enhancements to ensure ease of access to the market have been implemented. As I mentioned earlier, last month we launched a partnership with MTN Mobile Money Uganda to enable investors open SCD accounts and over the USSD, which makes the market even more accessible. In just a span of a few weeks, I mentioned that the results we've seen have been remarkable, and hence the impact of technology to support the growth of the exchange in an immense way. We are innovating around this more to take up the opportunities that it presents, and this will be observed during this IPO. The USC also has been undertaking several financial literacy and awareness activities, since it's vital to investors to understand the workings of their investments on the stock market. These activities ensure community resilience over long-term value creation in the investment industry. The content is centered around introduction to the stock market, how to participate in trading on the exchange, and how to monitor your portfolio, investment portfolio, and how to make investment decisions. We've reviewed MTN's application to list on the Uganda Securities Exchange and found it to be compliant in all material aspects of the USC listing rules. I would like to thank MTN Uganda for embracing the opportunity to offer its shares on the USC. We reiterate our commitment to help you navigate this new journey that you are taking and the responsibility that comes with it, and to further support your growth and impact in Uganda. I would like to appreciate the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of ICT and the Uganda Communications Commission for incorporating measures that not only allow Ugandan nationals to participate in the management of telecom companies, but also allows them to participate at shareholder level, hence increasing accountability to Ugandan nationals. It's our sincere gratitude goes to the Capital Markets Authority for their cooperation during the approval process that further aided our review process. I would like to thank the Board of Directors and staff of the Uganda Securities Exchange, who have done a tremendous job to ensure the timely delivery of this transaction to the market. The exchange is dedicated to its vision of inspiring growth through further innovations that will ensure more Ugandans, that is investors and local companies, take up and utilize opportunities available on the exchange, thereby positioning itself as Uganda's preferred institution for investment and raising capital. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Paul. A big hand clap for him. There's no better comfort than knowing that you are guided, you are comforted. Now, our chairman talked about compliance, and he also talked about how compliant MTN has been. But I think it's important for us to have a word from our regulator. That's the Capital Markets Authority. So I'm going to call upon Mr. Keith Kalejira, who's the CEO of the Capital Markets Authority, to kindly come up and shed some light on exactly, is the regulator carrying a big stake, or is it an encourager? Keith, you're welcome.
Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, Minister of National Guidance and ICT, High Excellency the South African High Commissioner to Uganda, the chairpersons of several boards that I've seen, Mr. Kato, Mr. Mbire, and several others, and all of you in your respective capacities, and of course the media, who does a great job in amplifying this message to everybody out there who's not able to be here. It's an honor for me to speak at this event, and I want to thank the organizers for the invitation. Let me just sort of take a step back and just share with you how this journey began and where we've gotten to and what it means for us as a regulator and what we do as a regulator in terms of reviewing prospectuses that are brought to us by companies that are seeking to raise capital, either for growth or for exiting the market. Reducing their shareholding. Essentially, when we're reviewing a prospectus, we want to make sure that all the salient facts about the business, its management, its historical performance, latest estimates, risk factors, use of proceeds when money is raised, what is it going to be used for? The legal opinion coming from confirming the existence of all the authorizations, filings, material contracts, and any litigation are fully disclosed. Ours is a disclosure-based regime where we make sure that as much as possible is disclosed in the offer document called the prospectus, such that by the time investors are making the decision whether to invest or not, they are fully informed about the risks. We pay a lot of attention to the risks, and I'm glad that MTN was able to disclose as much as possible. We hardly made any changes to that section of the prospectus. So in this regard, I want to thank the team who was heavily involved in this process, from SBG Securities, who we know were supported by Stanbic Investment Banking, the team from Sebalu and Company, for the professionalism and responsiveness they exhibited throughout the entire process. As I was discussing with Gertrude just a few minutes ago, when you don't get so many prospectuses all the time, you're looking for everything. You're checking for anything and everything. But I guess in those markets where they handle more prospectuses more frequently, they get to know where the real risks lie and they know where the pressure points are and zoom into those. But I think we reduced the comments from about 70 comments down to about 2 finally. And that takes a lot of back and forth. So thank you very much for your responsiveness and your professionalism. So what are the implications of the IPO to our market? Without going into specifics of figures, I know that's going to roughly double the size of the market capitalization that Mr. Buiso spoke about. I know the capital that's going to be raised by the company is almost double what has been raised in the entire capital markets since the inception of Uganda's capital markets in 1998 when Japheth started it. We expect several downstream benefits to include a marked increase in liquidity in the market, an improvement in the balance sheets of the intermediaries who are going to be involved in this process. I've seen some of you around. In the pre-IPO, in the post-IPO trading, the exchange, the depository, the brokers, the custodians, and everyone who's going to be playing a role in making sure that this process is a success. We also expect to see other innovations that the CEO of the USE and MTN have spoken about. So MTN's listing is going to fast-track Uganda's categorization as a frontier market country in the Morgan Stanley Capital International, which requires at least 2 companies valued at a minimum of $630 million to be listed on a local exchange in a country. This IPO is going to be approximately double that figure. So to all of you who are going to be involved in this process, now the hard work begins. Advisors need to be engaged a lot more. Market sensitization, I'm glad that has been going on with the USE. And indeed, we, as Paul said, this is part of the World Investor Week, so it's timely. So market sensitization on the benefits and risks of any listing, and this one in particular, need to be emphasized. On this, we as authority and the public as a whole will be relying on the objectivity and independence of the licensed brokers and investment advisors who will be undertaking a key task in this process of valuing the company to advise on its suitability as a short, medium, or long-term investment. You have a very important role to play, which we expect you to perform professionally. I'm sure there will be many lessons to learn from this public offer for several months and years to come. You can be sure that other companies are keenly watching, and Vim, you know whom I'm talking about, on how this is going to pan out. I encourage more companies to follow this step of opening up themselves to public ownership through a stock exchange listing. Other companies can raise patient capital through the issue of debt and equity securities, publicly or privately, particularly those that have operated in Uganda for the past 15 years or so. I think you've sort of gone past the test of survival and success, so it's time to seriously consider public ownership, which has so many benefits. It strengthens brand loyalty, it strengthens customer loyalty, it strengthens employee commitment to the company, and ultimately it increases financing options. I think when a company is publicly quoted on an exchange, the banks pay more attention to you when you go to try and borrow money. They know you've got options of rights offers, bonds, etc. So it can only be a good thing for those other companies that are still privately owned, that are successful, that need to consider expanding their financial options, their financing options. Market-based financing, Mr. Deputy Governor, is aimed at complementing bank financing, and this will support the growth of the economy to create more jobs, which will in turn increase the use of financial services. More Ugandans will be able to open and use bank accounts. More Ugandans will be able to open and use mobile money accounts, to use insurance products, and to save for investment and retirement. And as we all know, as more jobs are created, URA has more sources of revenue to finance the growth of the economy. So it's a cycle that we all need to pay attention to. I would like to conclude by thanking the government, specifically the Ministry of ICT, for supporting the development of capital markets, which the sector seems to have embraced. This was a result of the public consultations that the ministry conducted ahead of the license renewal rounds. To MTN board and management, what started out as an obligation will and should indeed turn out to be the opportunity you would like it to be. And I believe it's in line with what we've all been saying, Uganda is home campaign. As you all know, in homes we show love by sharing experiences, good and bad, happiness, pain, and gifts like dividends. We trust that this statement will characterize your existence as a publicly listed company in Uganda going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Keith. A big hand clap to Keith for that. Now, Uganda is home, and of course we at MTN understand the importance of talking about this, building relationships, especially with the Ugandans who are going to be part of this. And I am happy to say that with the kind of relationships that we do have with the media fraternity, it is very obvious. We've got the CEO of Next Media here. Kin, good to see you, sir. Big hand clap for him. We've got also another media partner, Tony Glencross, Nation Media Group. Good to see you here. And where's Don Wanyama? He was hiding somewhere. He had a chat with the regulator, and then he was like, but he's around. And a New Vision is streaming this live on their Facebook page. And I think, Irene, you'll tell us, is Facebook officially back or is it not? Everybody's wondering. You can't hear me. Okay. Now, one of the greatest things about Uganda is we are rich in talent. We sing, and when we sing with heart. And when you have a heart, just as Keith said, you are at home. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our lead songstress in this country, and that is none other than Nava Gray.
Yeah, Uganda is indeed home. Hey, yeah. Sokalami, Ungowami, Masitadane, Masiye Ude Songe. Sokalami, Ungowami, Masitadane. Kululunji tulusibidde entala tuli bafeebi sibyansimbi yena entandikwayo omukwano omujja labayo bigambo bugamba ina wakomayi naye ekimatiza byebikolwa kabiwa obujulizi. The strength and the bond we share together, you and I. So the skies up for our love. So doubt not these feelings I have for you. Strong, so sweet, passionate, pure. Don't think twice, they were meant for you. So kalami, wami, masitandane, masiye uda songe. So kalami, wami, masitandane. Yeah, yeah. Take me away, yeah.
When I bumble mami, no my bella tini fading babelela gue.
In all the promises made, they remain the same. When I wait, feel free to clap if you must. Uganda is home, and let's feel at home. Let's go. Oh, yeah. So kalami, wami, yeah. Masitandane, masiye ude songe. Oh, so kalami, wami, masitandane. Yeah, yeah. Take me away, yeah. When I stand beside me,
no my in
right here with the CEO. Hey, kangena nawe, mbere nawe, olomu wangu siyankuma, sabira bulamu bwokka. Kangena nawe, mbere nawe. Masiye ude song, yeah. Oh, so kalami, wami, masitandane. Yeah, yeah. Take us away. Oh, Uganda is indeed home, isn't it? So feel at home with my Ugandan vibes, isn't it? So the next song, if you listen to the beat, anyone being a songwriter, I managed to write Luganda on top of this beat. But if you listen to this beat, it's more Western. But I needed to bring Uganda home with this. So the next song is called Nterede. Let's enjoy.
Nzechemanyi ndi wamu nawe guno moyo gwenina tekukyanonya mulala gwe nange mba nteredde. Bino byekugamba mazima kulayirira nkoma waggulura kubakwata musobulamu bwange omwoyo gwe nnina tekukyanonya mulala guma omwoyo ebikeme ebyo bizze bingi zenkute naye kyendabye sikyanonya mulala gwe nange mba nteredde. Let me see those hands empty now. We're home when I get back to the day. Oh, and no change I gave ya kusika migua kuwatanya emirimu gitambule nga naye nneme sebwolusi olw'omukwano gutandi kumpi alinanya bukuma muwunira nenewayo
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Nava, just before you take off, as a true Ugandan, what do you love most about Uganda? Just two things.
There's so much to mention, but a few. I love the weather. Like, I've traveled to so many countries, but I still come back to the weather.
Yeah.
There's a lot of warmth, and east or west, home is best.
Nice.
The fact that I'm able to write Luganda, you know, as part of my music.
Yeah.
That's a blessing indeed.
Wow. A big hand clap for Nava Gray.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Enjoy your rest.
Uganda is home. Uganda is home. Uganda is home. And 1998 clearly was a very interesting year. That was when the Capital Markets Authority started. So we honor you for the great work that you did, and we are here today. That's also when MTN started, and that was also the year my daughter was born. It's just one of those things. Now, we talk about the balance of power, but we often don't talk about the balance of money. Now, on one side here, to my right, we have the Commissioner General of URA. We know URA is about money. Then, we also have the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, on this side. So, we can now see the balance, can't we, sir? Was it intentional? Now, as we proceed, again, we are going to speak to our regulator. Now, I'm going to call upon the Executive Director of the lead regulator today, that's Uganda Communications Commission, Engineer Irene, to kindly come up and let us know where exactly UCC falls in all this. You're welcome, Irene.
Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, the Minister of State in the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, specifically responsible for national guidance, the High Commissioner of the South African Embassy, the Deputy Governor of Bank of Uganda, the Commissioner General of Uganda Revenue Authority, the CEO of the Capital Markets Authority, the CEO of Uganda Securities Exchange, MTN Group Vice Chairperson, the Board Chairman of MTN Uganda, the CEO of MTN Uganda, media partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. It gives me much pleasure to join you all in this Power of Together event. The telecommunications sector, and getting back to what Peter said, the telecommunications sector in Uganda has experienced a fundamental transformation from the days when the phones had those dials through to the times when internet required you to have a dial-up connection or a VSAT, to today when our whole lives seem to depend on the internet being available. We all had what happened yesterday, and I can assure you the phone calls I got were interesting. MTN has played a significant role in this journey during the last 23 years since its entry into Uganda in October 1998. Mobile services suddenly became affordable even to a wheelbarrow pusher. I remember at the time all our counterparts from the different countries were asking, is it true that a wheelbarrow pusher can own a mobile phone? And that became possible in Uganda. We had women who were almost at every street corner across the country, able to set up payphone services and be able to sustain their families. The operations of MTN Uganda have continued to spur so many innovations and businesses, thus also creating a multiplier effect in terms of job creation and boosting economic growth, as some of the previous speakers have spoken. Last June in 2020, the government of Uganda, through the Uganda Communications Commission, renewed the National Telecommunication Operator License of MTN Uganda, and thus extending its stay in Uganda. As a condition of that license, MTN Uganda was required to sell 20% of its shares to the Ugandan public by listing on the local stock exchange. This is in keeping with the National Broadband Policy of 2018. I am happy to learn that MTN Uganda has successfully secured the requisite approval of the Capital Markets Authority and the Uganda Securities Exchange for this process and are now set for the initial public offering. We, as Uganda Communications Commission, are delighted to witness the honoring of this commitment by Uganda. Wim and I had the common joke that would stand together to wave that bell. So I still hold you to that, Wim. This is not just about local investors being able to buy shares in MTN Uganda, like we've had for the other IPOs in the country, but rather giving every interested Ugandan an opportunity to be an investor and own a share in MTN Uganda. The telecommunications sector in Uganda is still growing and is steadily becoming a strategic linchpin in Uganda's economy. You've already heard about MTN being a top taxpayer, and I can share with you that during the financial year 2020-2021, the industry gross revenue grew from 976 billion Uganda shillings to 1.11 trillion Uganda shillings, translating into a 14% year-on growth. It is thus a good sector to invest in as one plans for their future or that of their family. This undertaking we're celebrating today further entrenches Uganda's roots, MTN's roots in Uganda soil. Just like we say, son or daughter of the soil, this development will turn MTN Uganda into a genuine telecom of the soil. And with that, Uganda is home will not only become more than just a slogan, it will become a reality. I wish to commend and congratulate MTN Group, and specifically MTN Uganda, on this key milestone. I recognize, though, that all this is made possible by the presence of an enabling legal and policy environment. Allow me, therefore, to use this opportunity to thank the government of Uganda, represented here by the Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, for the transparent and welcoming investment policy that has enabled companies such as MTN to feel at home here in Uganda. As partners in the development of a modern and prosperous communications sector in Uganda, I wish to assure you of the Commission's continued support and constructive engagement to drive this country to great heights. We look forward to a successful IPO for God and my country. Thank you very much. And I'll take the honor to invite our chief guest, Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga.
Thank you very much, my ED of UCC. Her Excellency, the South African High Commissioner to Uganda, the Deputy Governor of Bank of Uganda, the Executive Director of UCC, the Commissioner General of Uganda Revenue Authority, the Chief Executive of Capital Market Authority, the Vice President of MTN in charge of East and Central Africa, the MTN Group led by the Chairperson, Board of Directors, Chief Executive Stanbic Bank, all Chief Executives, invited guests, are not forgetting the media partners. I first of all bring greetings and also apologies from my Minister, Dr. Chris Varyomusi, MP Kingizi West, and Minister of Information, Communication Technology, and National Guidance. He would have loved to be here on this important occasion, but he's out of the country on other duties. He's a very tall man, and I'm the opposite. I'm a short man, but I always fit in his representation very well. Dear Ugandans, it gives me great pleasure to be here today to join you in witnessing and celebrating what is, without doubt, an auspicious milestone in the life of one of the brightest stars in our corporate world here in Uganda. Since it started operations in Uganda about 23 years ago, MTN Uganda has grown to become a leading and modern telecom operator, and in the process contributing materially to the huge successes that our country has recorded in this sector. My first phone was a very huge phone, like a radio call, and I bought it 3 million shillings, and I also bought it through my cousin who was an MP, because if I had worked in the telephone company to buy a phone, they would have doubted whether I would manage. But the day MTN set in, the handset, that real day reduced from 3 million to 60,000. So they demystified the issue of holding a mobile phone as a luxury to make it a basic necessity to all Ugandans. And I congratulate you, MTN. Data from Uganda Communications Commission, the body that regulates our telecoms industry, tell an eloquent story of sustained growth and modernization in tandem with our peers in the rest of the world. The number of mobile telephone subscriptions stood at 28.3 million as at March 30th, 2021. It is indeed telling that out of this pool of subscribers, 14.2 million, which is about 50%, are MTN customers. In the mobile money market, which MTN pioneered in 2009, you have about 8.5 million active subscribers. Even on mobile money, I have a story to tell.
One time I visited a city in Denmark called Aalborg, and I wanted to send money home. I had money on my mobile phone. And then when I told my friend who is a Muzungu that I'm sending money, he said, let's go there is a bank nearby, you send by Western Union. I said, no, I will send it by phone. And he said, how does that happen? And I sat and taught him how we send money by phone. He was very surprised. And that's something Ugandans don't know, that sending money by phone might have been born in Africa. So thank you, MTN, for that one also. I'm glad to note that today MTN has a footprint in all the 134 districts of Uganda. In over 2 decades of operations, MTN Uganda has transformed from a traditional telecommunications company providing wide range of value-added services that have connected and improved the quality of life for millions of Ugandans. Ladies and gentlemen, these successes are not a result of happenstance. They are the dividends of deliberate and well-intentioned government policies over the years that are geared towards the promotion of growth of private enterprise and the protection of public interests, not just in telecommunications, but in the entire spectrum of the Ugandan economy. When the government of Uganda put out a bid for the second national operator license in 1998, through an international bidding process that eventually saw MTN come into this country, it was a bold and inspired policy move. Besides catalyzing great competition in the sector and the widening consumer choice for our people, it made our country one of the early adopters of mobile telephone and modern telecommunication services ahead of our peers in this part of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Uganda is currently implementing the National Broadband Policy 2018, whose objectives are to aid the harnessing Uganda's potential to exploit ICTs for economic development, achieve affordability, digital inclusion, and connectivity for all. ICTs has been identified as one of the job creation sectors in the National Development Plan 3 and a key driver of socio-economic transformation. And our President has continually emphasized this. The policy seeks to achieve the aspirations of Uganda's Vision 2040 by supporting the objectives of the NDP3, whose theme is strengthening Uganda's competitiveness for sustainable wealth creation, employment, and inclusive growth. It emphasizes the role of broadband internet in the socio-economic transformation process as a critical enabler. One of the stipulations of the National Broadband Policy 2018 is that it requires the holder of the national telecom operator license to ensure local broad-based ownership of telecommunication companies through the Uganda Securities Exchange. We believe this will not only diversify the ownership of telecoms active in our market, it will also make Ugandans co-owners and enable them reap the benefits of the digital revolution currently underway in our country. I want to recognize and celebrate MTN as a key partner to the government in growing our telecommunication sector to the levels we have achieved today. Significantly, MTN has been a true leader in ensuring compliance with the National Broadband Policy 2018. Today's announcement of your intention to list 20% of your shareholding on the Uganda Securities Exchange is solid evidence of this strong tradition of compliance and good corporate citizenship that has been the hallmark of MTN's operations in Uganda. I congratulate MTN on your forthcoming initial public offering. As government, we commit to ensure that you have a conducive and supportive environment in which to continue investing, innovating, conducting business into the next exciting phase of your corporate life. To our fellow Ugandans, I appeal to you to take advantage of this process and buy shares when the window opens. It is a rare opportunity to graduate from just a customer to a shareholder, a part owner. It is an invitation to share in the prosperity of furtherness growing industries in Africa and one of Uganda's most iconic companies. And if you ask me what has made your year in this October so far, as Minister in charge of National Guidance, I would say the advert for Uganda is home, because it is bringing positive mindset that Uganda, despite the problems we have, it's home, and it is a country where you can enjoy. And every time I see it on TV, I just say, MTN, you are doing my work. And my boss eventually will say, I think, Minister, it's work well done. I thank you all Ugandans for listening to me. I say all this for God and my country.
A big round of applause for our Honorable Minister. Thank you very much, sir. I always love your sense of humor. It's never short. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are reaching that point where we start loosening up just a little bit. We will have a question and answer session after this. We also have a couple of gifts that we will be giving to you. In celebration of Uganda being home, we are going to have a little touch of Uganda in the name of music. Music speaks to the heart, it speaks to the soul. And we have with us this morning one of the greatest and most authentic Ugandan artists. His name is none other than Joel Sebunjo.
daily. My home, I think about you every day.
Africa. Flora and fauna is delicate, the oil and gold is tempting. Flora and fauna is delicate, the oil and gold is tempting. Oh! Rise up, Africa. I love you. Viva Africa. I love you. Rise up, Africa. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I love you. Viva Africa. I love you. Rise up, Africa. Yeah, 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 yeah. I love you. Rise up, Africa. I love you. I love you daily. My home, I think about you every day. Oh, are you so beautiful, Mama love? Fata, glorious, sweet Africa. Flora and fauna is delicate, the oil and gold is tempting. Flora and fauna is delicate. Oh, the oil and gold is tempting. Rise up, Africa. I love you. Viva Africa, mama. Yeah, yeah. I love you. Say, rise up, Africa. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I love you. Say, viva Africa. Oh, I love you. Arusha, Tanzania, Kigali, Naguma. I welcome to Africa. Standing up your pyramid, shining bright like a diamond. Standing up your pyramid, yo, shining bright like a diamond. The sun is always up, the Nile flows so deep. There is no place like Africa. Whoa, I was born in Africa. Rise up, Africa. I love you. Say, viva Africa. I love you. Say, rise up, Africa. I love you. Say, viva Africa, mama. I love you. Yeah, I love you. Oh, rise up, Africa. I love you. We have some people in the audience. Thank you. Namilemba werekera. Oh, wasanga kwa manyinga na musoyo. Namilemba werekera. Oh, wanamu wanangora musanyo. Namilemba werekera. Wasanga kwa manyinga mwenyanyo. Namilemba werekera. Oh, namilembe nde namilembe. Namilemba werekera bawe. Namilembe ni namilembe. Namilemba werekera bawe. Oh, namilembe. Oh, namilembe. Yeah, namilembe. Sanyukanyo namilemba werekera. Yeah, wasanga kwa manyinga mwenyanyo. Namilemba werekera. Omwana wa wanongo gondanyo. Namilemba werekera. Nabayo banyanyo mugongo. Nabayo mana banyanyo mugongo. Nabayo menganda. Hey, kona gungo menganda. Oh, namilemba werekera. Yeah, namilemba werekera munange. Namilemba werekera bawe. Namilemba werekera. Namilemba werekera bawe. Yeah. Werekera namilemba werekera bawe. It's all about African music tonight. It's all about Uganda tonight. Whoa. Chatula mulangira chatula mulangira munangira buragara kabagana mana pita o munuje yansima kabagana mana pita o kadensula bobyo munuje yandivye o asula bubi omulungi yanjaye kyekyo akyatuula omulangira kabaka namulangira kabaka n'amana mpita onyanya lulaba omulungi yanjaye kabaka n'amana mpita mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye sei mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye kale onyanga lulaba omulungi yanimbye mulamu n'amana mpita tulabu byo mulungi yangaye mulamu n'amana mpita mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye mulamu gyolye naye mulamu wange mulamu n'amana mpita 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 mulamu. Sasa woterere nyima mbona mpolo bulago bunuma nari simanyito mu byaru byebebe wendo woza wenjagala bwenja kumere simala sambisa kono mupira n'enteba kyekyo sambisa kono mupira n'enywesa kyekyo nari simanyito mu byaru byebebe nakambana kasulo n'omulaba nambabamba ogw'omukwayo n'omulaba kyekyo naye mulamu wange mulamu n'amana mpita mulamu wange mulamu n'amana mpita mulamu wange gwe naye mulamu wange mulamu n'amana mpita.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Sebunjo. I can't hear a big hand clap for him. Come on, guys. That was an amazing performance, an electric performance. Well done, Joel and the team, not forgetting the lead guitarist, Michael Ouma. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into a Q&A session. The members of the press, this is for you. We're going to have an 8-person panel up in front here. We will need you for that. For the other guests, we have got amazing coffee. Just put up your hand and you will be served. The other guests are free to leave at leisure because this is now the tail end of the event. So I'm just going to get our panelists ready and we will start. So my members of the press, if you'd kindly come forward so that we can start the last part of this session. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call upon our panelists and just ask them to kindly come up to our set and take their seats so that we can be able to do that. So our first panelist, who I'm going to call up, is the CEO of the Capital Markets Authority. That is Mr. Keith Kaliajera. Keith, you are welcome, sir. I can see you've gathered quite a lot of fans. You're not doing too badly, yeah? You can please take a seat. Our second panelist is the CEO of Uganda Securities Exchange, Mr. Paul Buiso. Paul, please come up. Can we please give them a round of applause as they come up? Our third panelist is the Executive Director of Uganda Communications Commission, Engineer Irene Kagwa. Can you please come up? Our third panelist is our Honorable Minister, Godfrey. You can... as he comes up. And then we've got the Vice President of Southern and Eastern Africa, Ms. Yolanda Cuba. You could please come up. And then we have got our CEO of MTN Uganda, Wim. You can please take your seat. And we have the CFO of MTN Uganda, that is Andrew. You can also please come up. And last but not least, who will be our moderator, we have the CE of Stanbic Bank, and that is none other than Ann Juko. You're welcome. It's free sitting. So if you could all just tap the button on the side of your mic to put it on. So when the red light comes on, it's on. So based on this, Anne, I'm going to hand over to you to steer the ship.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us throughout the morning. As we have heard, this ceremony has been described with many words. I have words like historical, joyful, milestone, groundbreaking, to mention but a few. So indeed, it's a happy occasion, and we are here to answer some questions from the media. But before we do, I'd like to clarify a few things on what this occasion is and what it isn't. But before I get there, I want to congratulate MTN Uganda on this really, really amazing occasion. Irene, I invite you up here to join us on the panel. As Stanbic Bank Uganda, we are proud to be associated with you. And as members of the stock exchange, we've been on the stock exchange since 2007, we can share with you that you can only get good things from being on the stock exchange. So members of the media, as we start the second process, I want to explain what today is. Today is an announcement of MTN's intention to float. Today is a day when MTN lets the world know that they intend to float an approved and publish an approved prospectus and to float 20% of their shares on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Today is also a day where we can only tell you that, and we'll discuss with you about MTN, the company. I will go further as to say what we are unable to tell you about today, and I'll tell you why we cannot. If you remember the comments of the chairman of the board of directors of MTN, he was very specific when he said MTN is a compliant company. So we are going to be compliant to the rules as set by the CMA and the stock exchange. And there will be matters that we are unable to discuss at this point in time. They will come, but they will come in due course. And I'll tell you today that we will not be talking about the prospectus itself, we will not be talking about the offer of shares, and we will not be talking about a recommendation to buy or sell. All this information that you seek will come, but will come at a later date. You may be asking, what then? What can we talk about? And what can you ask about? You can ask about the process, you can ask about MTN, the company, you can ask about the why, and many other questions. But I would really like to guide the members of the press about what we can or cannot do. And I'll also take a step further. that according to the CMA advertising regulations of 1996, long time ago, this is the flow of events. Today we announced an intention to float, and after that we will go into and we will apply for admission of its shares to be issued as ordinary shares to the main investment market segment on the Uganda Securities Exchange. We will publish a regulator-approved prospectus and open the offer for a defined period. Upon closure of the offer, shares will be allocated and as prescribed in the allocation process. And if indeed there is an oversubscription, we will process the refunds and list the issuer on the Uganda Stock Exchange. So friends, those are the ground rules on this Q&A. And with that, I would like to open it up to the members of the press. There are a few roving mics that you are free to start with. I will ask that when you get the microphone, please mention your name and the media house you represent so that we can know who you are and then follow through with your question. The men in the kanzus have the roving mic, so just put up your hand and they will find you. There's a hand here. Okay. Please go ahead.
My name is Fred Ojambo. I work for Bloomberg. How much does MTN hope to raise through this IPO? And what's the timeline for listing? Then the other, how many shares do you plan to issue, and what's the pricing? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. And it leads me to believe that I must repeat the opening guidance. According to the CMA advertising rules, we are being compliant to those rules, and we will take this process by process. So we are unable at this point in time to discuss any of the price, the offer, or any amount or any allocation of this particular issuance. So today is a day for intention to float. That is all MTN is saying today, that I intend to float 20% of my shares. So I'm afraid if you can hang on to your question, in a very, very near future, we will be able to answer and answer it well. Thank you very much.
Elias from Reuters. When is the IPO starting? When are you starting to sell shares and ending? Timeline. And when are you publishing it?
I am going to invite the Chief Executive of the Capital Markets Authority to explain further than I have why we cannot give this information at this point in time. Keith, my friend, if you can assist with this question.
Thank you, Anne, and morning once again. The main concern is just to make sure that everybody has access to the same information at the same time. And that is why we're hesitant to, disclose some of these facts until the official opening. To the best of my recollection, it's supposed to be 11th of October when the opening is. That's in the prospectus. That's when it's going to be issued officially. So for now, it's really about informing the public that this is happening, and the CMA considered the contents of the prospectus. We approve the document called the prospectus, which contains all the information that investors need to know or to have in order to make an informed decision. We do not approve the merits of the offer. We do not approve the merits of the offer. So our approval should not be seen as an endorsement of the viability or feasibility of undertaking that investment. The facts have been shared. 20% of the company is going to be offered, and things to do with the valuation and all that are going to be contained in the prospectus. Anne?
Thank you very much, Keith. I hope that clarifies to the members of the press. He has let another cat out of the bag, that the prospectus will be available on the 11th of October. But until then, we are unable to discuss so that everybody has the same information at the exact same time. It is the right way to do things. Any more questions? I see a hand up here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Kabona Esiara. I report for the East African. This one goes to the president of MTN Eastern, South and Eastern. Looking at the telecom industry, you have a very big player in the region. What is the outlook like of the telecom industry in the region? What is the outlook? What will be the driver? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. The prospects and the outlook for East Africa and Southern Africa, which I look after, by the way, is actually quite immense. If we look at, for example, market penetration on data services and smartphone penetration, we're looking at sub 30%, right? Which means that we actually have a long way to go before each and everyone is actually connected to the internet. So for me, I mean, if I look at prospects going forward, is that we actually still today have less than 50% of our entire population not actually being active in data services, right? So that's immense opportunity. Financial services, if we look at financial inclusion is also lagging behind in terms of where we need to be as sub-Saharan Africa or even as Southern and East Africa as well. At this stage, we still have less than 50% of our population actually participating meaningfully in financial inclusion services, such as Momo that we actually offer today. So from that perspective, great opportunity. And also what one has to bear in mind is that we are actually an evolving business. So at the beginning, we're only doing voice and data. And as we actually expand into newer services, like digital and others, IoT and so on, as we actually connect more people and actually advance in the technologies that we use, then we're able to offer more services to more people. So significant opportunities around penetration, significant opportunities, by the way, because we actually have overall a youthful population within the region as well.
Thank you, Yolande. Thank you very much. Indeed, good prospects for not just Uganda, but across the East Africa region. Yes, please.
Much. Thank you so much. My name is Vincent, and that's from Radio 1. I have 3. The other for MTN. You hear me now? Thank you so much. My name is Vincent Siriko. I'm a journalist from Radio 1. And I have 3, but 1 for UCC, the other for MTN, and 1 for the... First one. Yes? Can you hear me? Yes. UCC. Hope I'm clear. Yes. Maybe let me start with MTN. Was this part of your anticipated plan? Because we heard it from the corridors that it was part of the compelled condition for the renewal of your license. So I just can't get it straight from you. Was it part of your plans, or you've been just compelled to take such a move? 2, to UCC. The telecom sector in the country is dominated by an arm beyond the borders, from beyond the borders. I don't want to say foreigners. And MTN listing on the stock exchange here maybe is a way of giving Ugandans control over this sector in a way. I just want to get from you as a regulator in that capacity, what other initiatives should the country anticipate or foresee in this line to ensure that Ugandans grip more on the telecom sector, especially owning this infrastructure? 2, finally, from the securities exchange. Before MTN, first of all, you talked of the impact they created in the industry when they first opened the other digital or online account opening for investment in the stock market exchange. And now we are seeing they are coming in full swing by this 20%. Before, how's the situation been like? And when you get players like the telecoms coming on board, beyond the figures, what else should the Ugandan think of in terms of benefits and that solid attachment to the sector in the investment umbrella? I don't know if I'm clear enough.
Thank you, Radio 1. We'll take the questions in the order they came. First with you, Wim, on the why. Why now? Why list?
Thank you for that question. So for the last more than 10 years, I think MTN at the group level and also Uganda level, we have a strategic intent to widen our shareholder base, our broadband base for local ownership. It's true that now with the renewal of our license, the listing on the stock exchange is an obligation, but we have been looking at it before and definitely now more as an opportunity than just an obligation. In the past, we've had discussions with other investors to widen the base. Those have not really been concluded, but now that it is in the license, we take at this as an obligation that we've turned into an amazing opportunity. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know, Yolanda, if you want to add something on that, on top, on behalf of the main shareholder?
Yeah, I think from a group perspective, earlier this year we actually announced our updated Ambition 2025, which you would have heard a lot about earlier in the day. And one of the key pillars of Ambition 2025 is actually shared value. And it is for the first time that we actually call it out in the way that we've called it out. Whereas before we actually lived it only, now we actually have said it actually is a priority. So earlier this year in my region, we actually supported another listing in another country, which was not an obligation. And that's what we're actually driving towards. It's more inclusive kind of participation in everything that we do as MTN Group. And some of these will come in the form of listings. Some of them might be private, but with local ownership. So this here was an opportunity to actually take quite a sizable business and actually be able to list it. And by the way, we actually accelerated even complying with that requirement from a license perspective, because we still have another however many months to June next year. And that tells you that we actually already were on a path in order for us to be able to actually do what we've done in the timing that we've already done it as well.
Thank you, Yolanda. Shared value as the way to go. To my friend, Engineer Irene Sewankambo.
Thank you very much, Anne, and to the brother from Radio 1. I'll turn your question slightly to not Ugandans taking control, but Ugandans participating in the sector. For a while, when we initially had this reform process back in the 90s, persons were afraid of telecoms because it's a capital-intensive sector. So starting a telecom company at the time was very capital-intensive. But as the industry has evolved, the number of opportunities, national telecom operator. So beyond this provision that was made by government in the national broadband policy, requiring that any operator who has a national reach, so any operator with a national telecommunication operator license, would be required to list 20% of its shares. Beyond that, there are other licenses in which, again, these are also open. Not that an NTO is not open to a Ugandan. So if there's a Ugandan who has the resources and access to the expertise required, they can also still set up a company of their own. But we've also created flexibility to accommodate operators at a more regional level. So someone can decide to say they're only going to cover the central region or operate in the eastern region or northern region. And again, over the years, as you have noticed, before an operator would do everything from A to Z by themselves. But today they have spun off a number of operations. For example, building of equipment, maintaining that equipment. Many of these are now done by Ugandans who used to be participating in the sector. So as we grow the sector and continue to allow it to realize its full potential, there will be more opportunities in terms of value-added services, in terms of even small businesses. You can see the phone kiosks, so that Ugandans have more opportunity to participate in that. So it won't be just this shareholding. There will also be other opportunities that will be coming to forth because of the growth of the telecom sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene. We now come to you, Paul, on the stock exchange and what's changing there.
Okay, thank you. So, a little bit of background and in reference to your question regarding the initiative we undertook with MTN Momo. So previously, we had 38,000 investors before the launch of that initiative about 2-3 weeks ago. We've been using technology, internet and applications and app for people to open accounts from the time the pandemic had an impact on the industry, and trying to put in place initiatives to ensure that paperwork and contact social distancing was observed. Within those 2 weeks, we're over 2,200 accounts open. That's about 5% compared to 23 years of implementing an account opening initiative. So looking at that, technology has a big impact on the potential of the markets and also ease of access to the markets by letting everybody at any corner of the country to be able to open an account seamlessly. Regarding your question in regards to the sector, currently we've got the banking sector, we've got a utility, that's Umeme. We've got 3 banks. We've got Umeme, we've got an insurance company, we've got a pharmaceutical company, we've got manufacturing companies on the exchange. What this does is that by bringing in place a telecom, we're now tapping into a new sector within the country. So it creates diversification and opportunities for investors to look at other opportunities within the market as compared to those specific sectors. So what investors look out for is really from a macro and micro perspective. Where is money being spent? We know that the telecoms are quite big in the country, biggest taxpayer. I think Yolanda mentioned that they'll be investing over 1 trillion over the next 3 years. I mean, that's information that investors look out for to look at opportunities and growth in the sector. Among others, of course, it's the return on investment in terms of a dividend, but also looking at capital appreciation in terms of your investment price and growth. As the company grows, of course, there's opportunity for this stock price to grow. And I think more will be shared on this at a future point in time when more disclosures are provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And I want to stay with you for a bit before we allow. How does one open an account in this new process? I think it's going to be important for the people at home to understand the new and improved process of opening a CDS account.
Okay, so the process is quite straightforward. You go onto the USSD and you use *165 *65 hash. It will take you to a prompt to open a Securities Central Depository account. You'll key in, so you'll select that option. Then you key in your national ID number. Once that is done, it will ask you to select your preferred broker. It will also provide you with a link to check on the profiles of the brokers. Once you select your broker, you will be given an option to accept the terms and conditions. There's also a link to that for you to look at the terms and conditions for opening an account. And thereafter, you key in your mobile money passcode. And your account will be open. It takes less than 40 seconds to open an account, and you get a notification of your new account number and notification of the contacts and details of your stockbroker. Yeah, I think that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for that. We really are talking about something revolutionary, that within under a minute, you can open your CDS account. I remember the times when you used to carry the forms and line up and wait to be called to fill in, and then you come back to get a confirmation. Friends, we are living in a new age. Thank you. I see that the Capital Markets Authority would like to add to this. Keith, before we come to your question.
So it's important that the public knows that they can open a securities central depository account other than through an MTN USSD code. So I wish to request, sorry for taking over your role here, but I wish to request that Paul just elaborates on how else you can open a USSD account, an SCD account, other than through the MTN portal. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. So the old process still applies if you want to fill in the form and go through the manual process. That is available on our website. You fill in the form, forward it to your stockbroker, who will process it and open an account. The second option, we've got the USE Easy Portal. This one requires you to log in with your email address and open a USE Easy Portal account. Thereafter, you are able to log in to open, you select open an account, and you key in your national ID information. So your names, your national ID number, and your date of birth, your email. So you give a little more KYC or know your client information on that particular option. Then you take a photo of yourself, a selfie, and then you're able to take two photos, the front and back of your national ID, and then you save that information, which is sent to the stockbroker at the back end, and within about 24 hours, you should be able to be sent your account opening details by your stockbroker once they've verified that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I will reiterate that there are different ways to open the account. In as much as possible, we want to make this an electronic process. In fact, our intention is to digitize the process. You can use the star 165, you can use the Easy Portal on the stock exchange, or if you absolutely must, you can fill in the paper. But I think we can save some trees by keeping this digital. Coming to you, sir, for your question.
Thank you. My name is Julius Kafuluma from Bukede TV. Now, I have two questions. The first question, I would like the ED, UCC to say something about it together with Vim. But I basically like you to respond, maybe in English, but also in Luganda. I wonder if Vim also be in position to respond to that in Luganda. Okay, first question is, we're two down, the lockdown, we have been affected by the lockdown, COVID-19, for the last 2 years. And since then, very many businesses have been, pushed to sell their businesses, advertise their businesses on using social media. However, Uganda still remains as one of the most expensive countries as far as data services are concerned. I'd like to hear it from you. Who is responsible for that? Either Vim will have to explain that, and UCC. The second question, these telecom companies these days operate more or less like, financial institutions, banks, given the introduction of mobile money. And recently, Minister of Finance requested the banks to be returning all the money that the clients have been, have left on their accounts, maybe not active or what. And we understand that sometimes we find ourselves not using our mobile money services because we have forgotten the pins. I'm speaking on behalf of other people maybe who have found themselves in that kind of situation. I would like to know whether MTN has also faced that problem and how you are handling, or whether you're also going to be in position to return that money to the central bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Irene, will start with you and request that the answer is both in English and some Luganda, seeing as Uganda is home after all.
Uganda is home, Luganda is not home. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that question. And indeed, it is important for all of us to pick an interest in this. As a country, as an industry, as a sector, as government, it is indeed our desire to make sure that the benefits of ICTs, including the internet, are brought to every citizen of the country, irrespective of their gender, their location, their age, and their income. Of course, when we look at where we started, this has actually been a priority issue for government. And that was initially the push also for establishing the national backbone infrastructure. Because one of the observations was the cost of internet is impacted by the cost of infrastructure and the maintaining of this. So we have over the years seen a decline, but we're not yet where we want to be. Are we the most expensive country? The statistics say no, we're not the most expensive. But that doesn't make us comfortable about where we are. As a sector, we have prioritized that in the next 5 years, and when I say as a sector, that's government priority, but also an objective we now share with the operators, where we all agree that if we are to actually realize the full potential of this sector, we need more people to get online. Now, I always share with persons before July, the cheapest bundle I think we had was 250 shillings per day. Now, we all know that social media, the OTTs, were more than used for casual communication. There was a lot of it. So if you were going to use any of those OTT applications, you needed additionally to pay 200 shillings each day. So the total cost to you would be 450 shillings in a day, if you wanted to go for the low end. When the OTT tax was scrapped, yes, we now face the reality of the exercise duty, the 12%. But the 12% results in 30 shillings as compared to the 200. So a person now pays 280. It is progress, but we are not yet there. As Oliver Twist, as a sector, we say we want more. We're engaging our colleagues in the other sectors so that they can share the vision that if, unlike voice communication where you pay for the seconds that you use, so every time you make a call, the seconds that you use are what you pay for. In the case of internet or data, it's like a token system. Anytime you connect to the internet, you put a token into the machine. That's the kind of situation you have. But because of the costs that are involved in providing the services, some of which are outside of our sector, like electricity, like many of the sites have to pay to use alternative fuels like diesel to power them up. Then, of course, the operators lease infrastructure from the tower companies. These costs are shared by a small market. Yolanda was speaking about the potential of the market and said our market is still very small. If we are only me and you and we are eating a whole cake, we're going to get big chunks. The more people come on board, the smaller the chunk. So we really need to work at making sure we bring more people online. And it's a chicken and egg. If there are cheaper services, they'll come online. However, again, for the cheapness, you need them online. So as a government, we have also identified what are the issues that are preventing that uptake. Cost of devices, Because to use the internet, you actually need a smart device. Not that you need a laptop or a computer, but even a smartphone. Yet, relative-wise, the cost of a Kabiriti phone and a smartphone are still not comparable. So we need a situation, all market factors intervening to bring that cost lower so that more people can afford a smartphone. When you go online, what are you going to do? For many people, they think going online is about Facebook, is about social media, but there is more to that. So we need to make those services relevant to more people across the country. You've just had Paul speaking about now using, USSD services to do, you're getting a CDS account. We need, and you've probably noticed that e-government services are now being increased. Why should you come from Karamoja, for example, to Lugogo to get a national ID? These are all applications you can get online. Then, unlike riding a bicycle, the internet is not as obvious. When you go on there, how do you navigate yourself? How do you understand what you need to do, where to find what information? So we need some level of digital skilling. And again, that is an effort that we're all undertaking to see that we increase the awareness of people to learn how to use those services and even appreciate them. And of course also address the coverage issue. As you may have heard, as a government, we've required the operators that within the next 5 years, they should cover 90% of the geographical landmass of the country. Now, if I can now transfer that in Uganda, and will come in along the way to be an interpreter. So ekibuuzo ky'obuuziza, sorry about that. Ekibuuzo ky'obuuziza nti Uganda yeesinga okubeera n'ebisale ebyawaggulu eby'okubeera ku mutimbagano. Information gye tulina ngaffe eraga nti Uganda si yeesinga obubi, naye ekyo tekituleetera kugamba nti tuli basanyufu okulaba emiwendo egisasulwa kati, kubanga abantu buli omu twagala kinnoomu mu Uganda, oba oli Kampala, oba oli Karamoja, oba oli Masaka, obeera nti osobola okukozesa omutimbagano era ofunemu omugaso oguva mu kukozesa tekinologi ono fenna kati gwe tweyagaliramu, nabo babeere nti bamweyagaliramu. Twalaba nga gavumenti ne sekita nga twegasse wamu ne ba operators baffe nti nno twetaaga okulaba nti nno tukola kyonna ekisoboka okuleetera abatannaba kufuna mukisa guno gw'okukozesa tekinologi ono nabo bafuna omukisa ogwo. Twetaaga okulaba nti buli wamu mu Uganda waliwo coverage, kubanga mukimanyi nti network wetebeera mu kifo tosobola kukozesa services ezo. Kati mu myaka gino 5 twagamba ba operator nti balina okufuba okulaba nti nno basembezaayo coverage yaabwe buli wamu wabeere nti nno tulaba nti nno buli munnayuganda asobola okufuna access to the internet. Ekirala kye twatunuulira nti nno weetaaga essimu gye bagamba ey'akaseerezi, mwe ab'amawulire muzita za kyanyumira nnyo nti okulaba nti nno osobola okukozesa internet woba tolina kompyuta eri twalinga tugamba weetaaga kompyuta naye ennaku zino essimu eno ebeeranga kompyuta naye wotunuulira omuntu amanyidde akabiriiti akasimu k'akabiriiti neeno essimu omuwendo si gwe gumu nga tulina tukwatagana ne bannaffe abali mu gavumenti mu bitongole ebirala okulaba nti tuleeta omuwendo ogwo okukka wansi omuntu wa bulijjo buli omu abeere nti asobola okwegulira essimu eyo. N'ekirala kye twalaba nti nno oli waagenda ku intaneti si kyekyangu nti nno onoobikula bikuza ekitabo n'omanya ekyokukola. Tulina okubayigiriza ogikosa otya, osanga otya bye weetaaga okugasibwamu osobole okufuna ebyo byonna bye bagamba nti nno okukozesa intaneti oba omutimbagano bikuyamba. So ebyo byonna tubeera twetaaga okulaba nti tukwataganira wamu tubeere nti tuyigiriza abantu baffe okukola ekyo. Ate nga bwe bagenda ku intaneti basangeko ki, kubanga oli ajja kugamba nze simanyi bantu beebweru kati ngende ku intaneti nkoleko ki. Tulina okulaba nti nno intaneti eyo ebiriko biyamba omuntu wa bulijjo bitya. Wembeera nga nzuuka ku makya nenkwata enkumbi yange intaneti engasizza etya, ki ekiriko ekinansikiriza okukozesa omutimbagano. Kati ebyo bye tukwataganyizza ne bannaffe abadala mu bitongole ebirala mu gavumenti okulaba nti no twongera omugaso ogwo eri buli omu mu Uganda, tulabe nti no omuwendo ogwo gukkirira.
Weebale nnyo Irene Anseyo. It was an inspired response. Thank you very much, and I hope that the listeners in Bukedde and other local have heard a chance to share in that. There was a question to our own Andrew Bugembe in relation to monies that have stayed on our mobile phones for long. Are you handing it back? Are you giving it back to us? What are you going to do?
Thank you, Anne. So regarding money that has stayed on the mobile money for a long time, so we keep engaging the mobile money customers to ensure they are aware about it. So for sure there is a regulation. You do have access to that amount of money at any point in time. So it's not like we're going to get that money and send it over to central bank as was what appeared in the media. You still have access, it sits there, but the thing is if it stays for over a year and it's dormant and there's no use, so we need to find out if there's a human being still existing, and if not, let us say someone has passed away, you still have access to be able to get that money back from central bank.
Thank you very much, and I hope that clarifies. I see 3 hands up. We will take 2 questions at a time. And so we'll take 1 question from here and 1 question from the back. Yes, please.
Hello. My name is Paul Murungi from the Nation Media Group. The first question goes to MTN. You listed in Ghana and Rwanda. What is the performance so far on their securities exchange? The second question goes to the Capital Markets Authority. I want to know the listing of MTN is likely to boost our securities exchange, but in the last 10 years we have only seen one listing. Why is our performance so low? And perhaps are we likely to expect a boost from MTN, but also maybe regional? How are we performing? For UCC, I want to know, are we likely to see listing from other telecoms since it is under the national broadband policy? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul, for those questions. We will start with Yolanda on the performance of Ghana and Rwanda, where MTN has listed.
Thanks for that question. So, what is important here is to understand that the listing itself is not only about a share price. It is actually about total shareholder return. And from a total shareholder return, all those companies that we've listed in the past actually have performed very well. And total shareholder return obviously includes the share price, the dividends, share buybacks, and the likes that you're actually seeing within those two markets in particular.
Thank you, Yolanda. So the Ugandan potential investor can look forward to a high total shareholder return, as is the case in Ghana and Rwanda. I'm coming to you, Irene. MTN is the first telecom to list. It's the first of many things. Should we expect many more to follow?
That's a quick and easy answer. As mentioned earlier, in the National Broadband Policy of 2018, any operator who has a national telecommunication operator license is expected to list 20%. So you can expect more because we have other national telecom operators in Uganda.
Hello? Thank you very much. I'm now coming to you, and I think this can be shared between Paul and Keith. In the last 10 years, only one listing. Why so little, and can we expect more?
Maybe to bring some clarity, it's not been one listing. There have been 4 listings. We've had 2 corporate bonds. Kakira raised $20 million. We had Umeme in 2012. We had Sipla. We also had the exit of Actis out of Umeme. We had DFCU raise $45 million. So there's been a lot of activity on the exchange which might not necessarily be initial public offers, but our objective is to raise capital for companies. What this means is that I think with the ease of doing business and financial inclusion and more information being put out there, we expect more listings. The regulator has mentioned that there will be more listings coming through the telecom sector, and we continue to undertake awareness campaigns to let the public know that the objective of the exchange and the platform is to help companies raise capital or help investors exit the market. So yes, we will see more on the market. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I saw 2 hands at the back. If you can kindly stand up, and your name, your media house, and then your question.
I am Kwesiga Rogers. I work with the Ministry of ICT under the Department of E-Services. My question goes to the CEO of MTN. As to the policy of infrastructure sharing of 2017, how have you enabled other entities to back onto the fiber cable or the internet that you guys do in sharing and doing the same field of telecom? 2, as to the 3 days away I've been in Western Uganda, where we are having a problem of communication due to the people being on the shadow side. How are you working on that, as looking into one of the telecoms you are serving as a company? Thank you.
Thank you, Wim.
Thank you for the question. So in terms of infrastructure sharing, of course, we do indirectly share infrastructure through the towerco companies. So we are not building our own towers. We are instructing or asking a towerco to build on our behalf. And then per definition, the towerco will try to also get other telecom operators on that same infrastructure. So that already by nature is infrastructure sharing. Now more in particular around the question around fiber. Yes, we do have a very extensive 5,000 kilometer national backbone fiber that we have built over the years. We do have customers on it, so it's not just for our own use. Of course, originally, we built the infrastructure for our own use, but over the years, we have opened up that infrastructure. Today, we have several ISPs that are leasing, renting capacity on our backbone, including, we'd say, Africell, who was one of our customers. They were taking IP transit capacity on our infrastructure. So we do have a wholesale, we call it a wholesale department. Julie, who were introduced before, is heading that department, and her customers are other telecom operators and are also ISPs that use our fiber services across the entire country.
Thank you, Wim, for that question.
Maybe your follow-up question around the network. Of course, expanding network coverage is a constant challenge and objective. Rural coverage is very high on top of our agenda. Of course, there is once again it's an obligation, nationwide coverage, 90% landmass, but at the same time, we always try to turn all obligations into opportunities, so that it is and it remains a very exciting opportunity to continue rolling out network. Population keeps on growing, we know that, so we constantly rolling out new sites. Just in the course of 2021, we've added 400 new sites onto our network, and we're just getting started, I would say. So we keep on growing our footprint, we keep on expanding our coverage, we keep on increasing capacity, which is required to have high quality data network speeds. So it's a continuous effort, and please share with me those details. We're very happy to look into it and to build further the network so that every Ugandan gets access to the benefits of a modern connected world. That's what we stand for, and that we will keep on investing to realize that dream, that everybody gets access.
Thank you, Wim. Thank you very much. There's a gentleman at the back, please.
Yes, good morning. My name is Ali Twaha and I work with New Vision. I'm asking this on behalf of someone who's waiting to take a share of the company. And just like you shared the journey of MTN from the 1990s, he's requesting Keith to sort of give us a journey of the listing. How since Irene, you mentioned of the national broadband policy, since it came into play, how have you been arranging? This goes to the regulator. Until we get to that time of ring the bell ceremony at USE. Take us through that timeline. I think that's not too much to ask. Anne will agree with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali Twaha. I think I'll deflect that question to Vim, who I think has the facts, the dates, the key dates on his fingertips, I hope.
Okay, I'll speak on the supervision and control of the CMA authority. So please correct me and stop me if I say something that would not be allowed to say. But as you rightfully mentioned, there is the opening of the period and the publication of the prospectus next week, which already been confirmed. And then for a number of weeks, the period will be open, which means that the potential investors, shareholders, will be applying for shares for a certain duration. number of weeks. Everybody will have a chance to express their interest, basically. Then at the end of the period, there's going to be an allotment, an allocation process. There are two possibilities. Either the offer is undersubscribed, meaning there were 1,000 shares on offer and only 900 have shown an interest to buy. That is under subscription, so everybody who will have applied will have their share. The other possibility is that there is an oversubscription. There were 1,000 shares on offer and 2,000 people wanted to buy. Then there is an allotment policy that will be defined in the prospectus, and based on that allotment, the allocation policy, the 1,000 available shares will be allocated to the 2,000 that have expressed their interest. The ones, or if you only got half or 1/3 or 90%, whatever the case, then the money that was already paid up front for the 2,000 shares, part of it, of course, is going to be reimbursed. And then when all that process is done, then we will go to the USE and we will ring the bell for the official listing of the shares on the USE.
Yes.
Is that...
It is, and friends, I just want to clarify something. The rules are such that we are unable to share all the details. But bear with us, the prospectus will come out next week. The regulator has taken that out of the bag. We now know that the 11th of October, you will have a copy of that prospectus. At the end of this press conference, we will release the timing of each of the events, and you will have a copy of that. There are copies being printed that you will go home with a copy of what will happen when, so that you are suitably guided, but remaining within the rules. There was another question at the back. Yes, please.
Right. Thank you so much, Anne. My name is Isaac Bakashava from Bakash Media Foundation. Mine is quite, I'm asking, could you, as MTN, extend this conversation to higher institutions of learning, of which we deal with, for the youth mostly, to understand this and see how they can really come on board? I hope they would like to have shares in MTN. Please. In form of dialogues and engaging youth. Is that possible?
Yes, it is. And as we will share, there is an education program that is being run by the Stock Exchange, the Securities Exchange. And Paul, if I can invite you to share with the media that all key stakeholders will be educated, reoriented, and engaged in this journey. Paul, if you can.
Thank you. So the Exchange has been running a program every year. We call it the University Challenge, the USC University Challenge. And usually what we do is that we reach out to all universities, and the youth are engaged in, we put in place a virtual environment of a stock market. So the youth are able to sign up using the internet, and we allocate them about $1 billion shillings, and then we let them trade over a period of 3 months and offer them guidance on how to trade. And the market prices that are in the real market are actually mimicked in the virtual environment. We ran this from 2017, and we've trained over 5,000 university students, and we're really open to continuing offering this support to the youth and the general public at large. So this is something we'll continue to do. We have monthly webinars that we undertake for the public to be educated, where we bring the different stakeholders within the market, so the stockbrokers, the custodians, listed companies, to share their experiences. We also bring experienced investors to speak to the youth and learn a few things regarding investment. We've also undertaken trainings on a monthly basis, but also we take on students to train from time to time, those who want to learn more about the markets. So we're open to that, and we'll continue supporting the education of the public and the youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wim, you want to augment that?
Yes, I just want to add on top of that, starting next week when the period opens and we make the price announcement, the prospectus, starting next week, we will be embarking on a town hall roadshow. There will be more than 150 engagements in Kampala and upcountry. We are going with 10 of my colleagues together with the brokers. We are going to go upcountry to all the corners of Uganda. We're going to talk and engage with potential investors, of course with the brokers in the room. 150 of those engagements, physical, face-to-face, but also virtual. We have a whole set of webinars that we will organize. So the students, but all the other potential investors and anybody interested will have a chance to engage with the management of the company and with their brokers, to discuss the investment opportunity. So there's going to be a massive engagement over the next few weeks during the period in terms of education and explaining what the company stands for and what the offer is all about.
Thank you, Wim, for that. So again, members of the press, plenty of opportunities for you to learn and for your viewers to learn about MTN as a company, but also the stock markets as an industry. With that, I see one last question here, and then we'll close it. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for that. Now, on behalf of our viewers, please, now since you've said that you won't be in position to disclose the price of the shares today, we would like to know if the IPO will also include the Momo subsidiary of the company. Maybe if you could respond to that. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So MTN Uganda today owns 100% of Mobile Money Company, and the IPO that is being listed is MTN Uganda. So Mobile Money will be included. Kuchiza mu Uganda, Mobile Money Company nayo ejja kuba listed. Mobile Money Company is owned by MTN. So munaba mu investinga mu MTN oba investinga mu telco, yesimu ne Mobile Money zonna zijja kuba wamu.
And thank you to the members of the press. Thank you for your very engaging and insightful questions. Thank you to the panel. Thank you very, very much. Wishing you all a wonderful day ahead. Goodbye.
Thank you very, very much. A big hand clap for our esteemed panel. And I dare say, without fear or favor, we clearly saved the best for last. And well done. Well done. Some of us are feeling like we're going to be out of a job very soon. But thank you very much. You can kindly step down. But just before you step down, I think while you're standing there, we can all just rise as we close for the national anthem. The Ugandan national anthem. Thank you very much. Have a great day. God bless. And for God and my country, it's been a great morning. Thank you very much.
Here as MTN Uganda was actually taking us through the IPO. And this is something that has actually been happening for the last, actually happening for the last 2 weeks, as MTN Uganda was actually set to offer MTN Uganda Limited agreed to list 20% of its Uganda unit on the country's stock exchange as the latest move by Africa's largest wireless carrier to allow more local investors to buy and sell shares in individual units. It's the same incident that has actually been happening. Now, the move by this African company, MTN Uganda, now if we're to talk about MTN Uganda, is aimed at ensuring broad-based ownership in its operating subsidiaries. According to a statement, the decision follows listings of MTN units in Nigeria, Ghana, Rwanda, which to some extent actually took place after pressure from government and local regulators. And it's the same incident that has been happening here in Uganda. The creation of a Lagos-listed entity was part of a deal to settle a multi-billion-dollar fine for being slow to disconnect customers without proper documentation. Now, MTN Uganda is in the middle of scaling back to the company, with a focus turning primarily to not only Uganda but Africa-wise in terms of the African and mobile banking services. Following up on the same issue of what has actually been happening, let's actually take a look at some of the few highlights of the situation. Now, MTN Uganda did announce its intention to float 20% of its shares on the Uganda Security Exchange. This is what they've actually been launching and putting on board. This will potentially be the largest IPO on the Ugandan market, and it will be delivered primarily in return through a digital property or into a green platform, which is the first of its kind in East Africa and the first of its kind by MTN Uganda as an initiative in the Pearl of Africa. The offer, the listing of MTN Uganda, is in line with MTN Group's localization plans to drive local ownership in the markets within which MTN is operating, and it is also in line with the policy objectives of the government of Uganda as articulated in the National Broadband Policy, that is of Policy of 2018, and the Uganda Communications Licensing Regulations as of Article 95, that is as of Article 1, number 95 of 2019, following the regulations of the Uganda Communications Commission that regulates all telecommunication companies in Uganda, with MTN Uganda exclusive as well. Now, MTN is actually pleased to announce the intention to proceed with the initial public offer, which is the IPO, the initial public offer, and subsequently list on the Uganda Security Exchange, that is the USCE. This follows this actually follows the requisite approval by the Capital Markets Authority and the Uganda Security Exchange. So you've definitely seen we had representatives from the Capital Market Authority at this particular event, as well from the representatives of MTN Africa taking part in this. So as if you to draw back in 1999, there was license in hand when MTN Uganda commenced the rollout of infrastructure and services way back from 1998 when it had its operation in Uganda. So 20 years down the road, we have MTN now, roughly heading to 24 years down the road with MTN Uganda. Everywhere you go, making sure that they actually deliver services to the telecommunication users as well. MTN Mobile Money has also revolutionized in the financial landscape. If we are to look at the situation from MTN Mobile Money, the one that you now normally know as MTN Momo is MTN Mobile Money that has actually been revolutionized in that aspect. Now, let's also focus on the growth in mobile money penetration in Uganda, which has actually risen from 0.2% in 1998 to 67% as of March 2021. That is according to the growth in mobile penetration by MTN Uganda alone. So we are definitely fit to say it is a telecommunication giant in the sector of Uganda. Now, if we are to actually follow up, we are still looking at the same incidents that have actually been happening down at the Kampala SERENA Hotel, as MTN has actually given out more of, has actually laid on board has actually given shares to the public. So if you are interested in actually acquiring shares or buying of shares from MTN Uganda, it is high time you definitely went for this. Now, if you have to look at the situation, this is coming in from the SB Gas Securities Uganda Limited announcement of an intention to publish a prospectus and an intention to float shares on the Uganda Security Exchange. Now, MTN is actually having an intention to float shares on the Uganda Securities Exchange. So clearly, what does it mean? Let's try to actually throw back a little bit before what brings us to this particular event. If you're to look at the situations that happened a few weeks ago, MTN Uganda was actually in situations of making sure it actually carries on a partnership with the Uganda Security Exchange, USCE, together with the Security Depository, USCE SCD. That was on Tuesday, 14th September, and they launched a digital Securities Central Depository account money platform in partnership with MTN Mobile Money in a bid to further democratize Uganda's stock market. Now, this innovation was the first of its kind in Uganda, and it actually envisaged to simplify the process of opening an SCD account, which is actually a requirement for individual investors to participate in the securities market in Uganda. Now, while launching the digitalized SCD account opening service in the joint press conference between USCE, that is the Uganda Stock Exchange, and MTN Mobile Money at Kampala SERENA Hotel a few weeks back, the Uganda Security Exchange CEO, Mr. Paul Bwiso, stated that since embarking on its digital transformation journey in 2015, Uganda Stock Exchange had been in intention of about placing the investor at the forefront of its digitalization strategy. He stated that the partnership with MTN Uganda will actually allow the use of the Uganda Stock Exchange to further simplify access to the stock market for the local investors as well as those from the international part of it. Now, since all MTN Mobile Money subscribers with national IDs can open accounts from any location, and at this particular moment, you can see why the move has been a success. Live from the Kampala SERENA Hotel, where we've been taking you through the same event. Now, last year, there was a launch of a web-based platform called the Easy Portal as a self-service channel for opening an SCD account in service of gold, facilitating convenient access to stock market access and services. Now, this partnership with MTN Uganda is another stride towards achieving the goal. That is according to the chairman and CEO of the Uganda Security Exchange, Mr. Paul Bwiso, did actually state in that. Now, MTN Uganda, as of today, announced intentions to float 20% of its shares to the Uganda Stock Exchange. So you can definitely go out there and buy shares from MTN Uganda. Now, following a protracted negotiation that dragged out for nearly 2 years, MTN Uganda has finalized and reached an agreement with the Uganda Stock Exchange. If you're to actually look into that, the USCE, which is going to be a long-term renewal of its operating license in Uganda, and MTN Uganda reached an agreement with the Uganda Communications Commission to pay $100 million for a 12-year license in Uganda, valid from July 1st, 2020 till July 1st, 2031. Now, the initial public offering was one of the conditions for the renewal of the license, as the Capital Markets Authority expects to reap non-tax revenue of 1.15 billion shillings from the listing of telecom giant MTN Uganda on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Still looking on, as we're just trying to wind up, just to give you a recap of what has actually been happening during this particular event, where MTN Uganda has actually laid afloat over 20% of its shares to the Uganda Stock Exchange. So that means for any Ugandan who is interested in buying shares from MTN Uganda, it is now high time you definitely went out and bought the shares. It has not been possible for anyone out there to buy shares from MTN Uganda, but as of now, following the same launch that has actually happened it is quite possible for you to go and access those shares or actually get those shares. Now let's actually take a look at what the vice has actually, MTN's vice president, that is MTN Group vice president, has actually had to say in regards to the same situation. He actually came out and said it's a most rewarding situation whereby MTN will be able to give a broad base of Ugandans the opportunity to share meaningfully in the success that MTN and the people of Uganda have built together over the last 23 years on a journey to 24 years. And later on, maybe we'll be celebrating 25 years, hopefully 2024. And MTN Uganda will become the fourth operating market to get publicly listed. Mark this one now. MTN Uganda will become the fourth operating market to get publicly listed, and their vision is to see that operation of the markets in terms of stock exchange is following suit in driving shared value across the market of MTN Uganda. Now, we're here analyzing some of the vice president's speech. That is MTN Group is vice president. And the milestone announcement reaffirms MTN's work to promote local ownership and participation in the businesses across the markets, because now MTN is laying on board to see that it is helping local markets and the local producer down from the grassroots in Uganda. Now, focusing more, this will be the largest IPO in the Ugandan market and the first of its kind in East Africa, and will definitely be delivered primarily through a digital, paperless or green platform. Now, in response to MTN Group's strategy ambition for 2025, the Group's vice president had this to say. He actually said they're actually leading digital solutions for Africa, and MTN Group is committed to supporting the realization of national development plans for the government of Uganda plus its people down from the grassroots of the local producers, as well as those from MTN wants to take part of this journey. And by 2025, 90% of the country will have wide coverage with MTN services and world-class internet to compete favorably in a modern technology world. Now, mentioning about MTN remains committed to building the largest and most valuable platforms during industry leading and connectivity operations. So you can see of what MTN is actually laying on board for the Ugandans, from the situation of actually giving room for Ugandans to actually start buying shares from MTN after being publicly listed now on the Uganda joint stock exchange market. Now, MTN Uganda has actually been listed there with offering 20% of its shares for the Ugandans to the joint stock exchange in Uganda, so that every part of the country or anyone who is interested in buying stock, you can definitely go and buy shares from MTN Uganda. Now, if you look at the situation, the announcement is actually purpose for the capital markets and capital markets regulations of Uganda. And if you're to look in the situation, neither the announcement nor anything contained or referred in the announcement that has actually been made is best or is actually going to be affecting anyone. But according to the situation, investors should not subscribe for a purchase any ordinary shares until referred to the announcement that was made by MTN. So now, as we've actually seen, MTN Uganda has actually been listed on the joint exchange of Uganda. And what does this actually mean for you as someone interested in making sure you go out there in the local market to buy shares with MTN Uganda? It is high time you went, because it's now listed among the companies that have, it becomes the fourth listed entity on the Uganda stock exchange market for you. Let me try to break this out in the local dialect. Buli omuntu asobola okukitegeera nga tugezaako okusambyamu. MTN Uganda bagitadde ku Uganda stock exchange market, era ekutte ebitundutundu 2 ku shares zaayo n'ebiteeka ku katale. Nti gwe omunnayuganda ali eyo ng'oyagala kugula migabo mu MTN Uganda, kati essaawa zino okusinziira ku kigenda mu maaso okkirizibwa okugula ekitabaddeewo mu bbanga MTN yemaze mu ggwanga ekumala emyaka 23 nga MTN eweereza abannayuganda okusinziira ku bitundu byonna gye muli. so kati essaawa zino okusinziira ku kiriwo osobola okugula emigabo for as low as the money that you have, ogende negotiating ogule emigabo mu MTN Uganda, as it's now listed bagitadde ku Uganda Stock Exchange Market. Kibategeeza yemu ekute kyakuna mu companies ezo ezili ku Joint Stock Exchange Market. Era okuva kati osobola ogenda n'ogula emigabo, era mu abali interested oba gwe awulira nti osobola ogula emigabo, kuba kati essaawa zino ennaku zino buli company mu ggwanga mu nsi zigezaako kulaba nti abantu ba opening to the public. Osobola obbanga it is a way of okulaba nti MTN bringing us services erigwe omuna Uganda oba erigwe subscriber wa MTN okulaba nga services zino zikutuukako. Era mu ngeri yemu MTN by 2025 erina ekigendererwa kyegamba nti at least 9 ku 10 population ya Uganda oba bannayuganda balina obbanga at least MTN covering beyond the country ng'esobodde, because title ya MTN eri everywhere you go. So at least baagala by 2025 oba 2025 egenda otuuka nga abannayuganda abasinga mwenna muli connected to MTN, nga internet speed eri waggulu nnyo, kulaba nga internet services muzifuna. Olw'ensonga nti tuli competingira mu nsi eri modern, there is a lot of technology, ebintu bingi nnyo, olina obbanga oli up to speed n'ensi eno etambula ku speed. So kola ekyo olina okwesiga MTN Uganda okulaba nga ekuyisa mu lwokaano luno. Ate bino bye bimu ku bibadde bigenda mu maaso ku Kampala SERENA Hotel nga Smart 24 TV ngaffe we tweyamye okulaba nti tugenda batuusaako omukolo guno nga gubadde gutuuseewo. Omukolo gutwalidde ddala okumala essaawa 3.5 okuva Kampala SERENA Hotel. Era okusinziira ku kino MTN Uganda evuddeyo mu lwatu neyanjula nti amagoba oba tugambe ebitundutundu 2 ku shares za MTN ezitaddeyo ku Uganda Stock Exchange erigwe omuntu ali eyo ayagala okugula emigabo egy'enjawulo mu MTN Uganda. And obviously for all those that have actually been keeping up with us, you've definitely been following up with the situation. We did start off with the MTN CEO opening with the opening remarks, as they were actually giving us, before we actually had the Vice President of MTN Group Africa also having what to say. And following a protracted negotiation that dragged for nearly 2 years, MTN has actually finalized and reached an agreement for a long-term renewal of its operating license in Uganda. And if you could definitely see, since last year, Uganda signed a new contract with Uganda to operate successfully in Uganda for more 12 years. So from the 23 years they added more 12 years. So they are still here and still good to go. Now the Capital Markets Authority expects to reap non-tax revenue of 1.15 billion shillings from the listing of the telecom giant MTN on the Uganda Security Exchange. The bigger question is, what are you waiting for? Everywhere you go, you will definitely get to know and understand what MTN has to offer. In my final submission, we were live from the Kampala SERENA Hotel as we're giving you what is happening as MTN Uganda launched the intention to float 20% of its shares on the Uganda Stock Exchange. And you've definitely got it right. From today onwards, go and get yourself a share from MTN Uganda. So what are you waiting for? So I think it's greatly high time for you to actually focus more and see what you need to understand in regards to that. Now, let's actually try to wind up, if we are to actually, so if you're to see that as today they were actually launching it, just a few of, but today they launched the float of 20% of the shares, but it's going to be formally open or officially open for people to actually go and buy the shares on the 11th of October 2021. So omuntu yenali eyo olwaliro balanchinze ekintu kino naye kigenda tuukawo oba osobola okugenda okugula emigabo mu MTN Uganda okuva oluvannyuma lw'olunaku z'omwezi nga 11 omwezi guno ogwa October. Awo gyosobola okusinziira ndowooza wiiki eri ejja okuva ku Monday tujja batu akava mu independence. So ndowooza olaba ebirungi ebijja oluvannyuma lwa independence. As the country is actually growing, MTN has been with us for over 23 years. As the country is celebrating 59 years of independence, these are some of the companies that have stood the test of time in Uganda for businesses to remain 20+ plus years in the country, it is a test of time, surely, because we've actually been having a few. If you're to identify some of those businesses, more so from the foreign countries, coming in Uganda and staying to actually stage 20 years or 2 decades in business in Uganda, it's quite tricky. You would see ShopRite actually failed out in terms of the business, and we had some other telecommunication companies that couldn't make it in Uganda's business. Talk about AfriCell, talk about Smile, all those ones are out of business in Uganda, but MTN has stood the test of time, like I would definitely say. So for those that have actually been following all the conversations and the discussions live from the Kampala SERENA Hotel, I would say stick around with Smart 24 TV, because more in regards to business stories are coming your way. And following up on the same situation, starting from 11th of October 2021, you can definitely go and get yourself shares from MTN Uganda. And for now, it's a goodbye.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda.